So we opened in October of 2014, but the previous year we had helped a friend of ours open their own barcade, and we went over there and we looked at it, and it's okay, he's doing fine for what he's targeting. But as we're leaving, I'm talking to my wife Michelle, and she's like, we could do better. We could do it differently. Well, what are you talking about? What do you want to do? And we talked about how we could do something more community, more family. So we've targeted this as being a family entertainment destination. So we don't serve alcohol. We've had people ask many times. There's a big profit area that we thought about, but we haven't gone there. But we have a family-friendly environment. So when she said, well, we could do something, I'm like, well, okay, let me do some research. And I looked at real estate in the area, and I went and talked to a couple of places, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so expensive. I don't know if I could do that. But I found a building that was next door to where we are now that was really big, and I thought it'd be a great place for an arcade. And I'm talking to the realtor, and he's like, well, this is what we've got, but that place next door, I don't know, it didn't even have the for sale signs up yet, but it was shuttered. And I asked him about it, and he's like, well, it's going to be, it's kind of a mess. I'll show you. And we go over, and it turned out there was this a dive bar. I don't think they meant it to be a dive bar, but it's kind of what it had become. It's Eddie's Trackside Bar and Grill. And they had a very loyal following. I got death threats for closing them down, although I had nothing to do with it. That was entertaining. It's like, Facebook, people can be unique.
Yeah.
But the place was kind of a mess, and it wasn't exactly what we wanted, but the price was right. And so I got a couple of partners, and we bought the building, and then took us from, well, I put the offer in on Halloween in 2013. We didn't take possession of the building until May 5th the following year, and then it took 6 solid months of renovations. Wow. And I had to do power upgrades to be able to put the arcade in, and tearing up carpet that was frankly disgusting, and just renovating the place to our needs. And we opened with a couple of racks of merchandise and an arcade and a lot of hopes. And the community's been really accepting. It's been great. I love getting drawings from little kids. Like, this is me at the arcade. I'm like, yay, I'm gonna put this up on the wall. Nice. And I've done that a few times. People just like it. And I'll bump into people at the grocery store. Are you guys open yet? Are you back? Yep, we're back. Come in. Mostly back.
I have to say, I spent the last half hour there. It's a great selection of games, classics, modern. There's this whole gallery upstairs with all the classic games. And,
you can't have an arcade without a Pac-Man machine, but it's not going to make a lot of money. Honestly, the uprights are, yes, the Pac-Man machine. That was for sale. The uprights, like the Dig Dug and the Centipede and the Asteroids, those are the ones people will come in and they're like, yeah, I remember that, and they'll play it a couple of times, and they'll go find something else to play. They're not quite set dressing, but they're people. You can play Pac-Man on your Xbox.
Right.
You can't play pinball well on your Xbox. You can't play a good driving game on your Xbox. You can't. There is House of the Dead for the Xbox, but it's not as good. So
big screen and two guns.
So pinball is a big driver. The House of the Dead 4, it's broken right now. I got to fix that. Gun went bad. Is our top earning game.
Yeah.
It has been since we opened. DDR is second.
Right.
And then you go into the pins. People like the interactive stuff and the things that are a little larger than life. this is my art gallery. These are interactive sculptures for me. I grew up in the 80s. My first job offer was working for Mr. C's Arcade in the Port Orchard Mall, and I was too old. I was only 13. I couldn't take the job, but I'd spent all summer there. Hadn't spent anything because I never had any money. But at the end of the summer, Mr. C comes up and says, "Hey, David, the kids are going back to school. You want a job?" I'm like, "Yes, I want a job. I can't because I'm not old enough."
Nice.
And then we moved, and so, but that was, it was like, wow, I could, here we are, 30 years later, and I've got all these games, and I wanted something for people to be able to do in this town, because other than the theater, there's not a lot for the teenage crowd to be able to do. So we were kind of hoping to target that. And surprisingly, we don't get a lot of teenage. We get more young adult, 20s, 30s, and some older. We don't get a lot of the teenage crowd. Untapped market. I got to figure it out.
They're missing out. So one thing I noticed is all the games are in really nice shape. It feels like a labor of love kind of thing.
I've had so many people ask me, I want to open an arcade. I'm like, okay, do you know how to fix games? No, don't. If you don't know how to fix your own games, you're going to either go broke or you're going to have a lot of broken games. Because I tell people, these are like owning old cars. And if it's a pinball machine, it's like owning an old Italian car. They break. They are interactive. The pinball machines are literally shooting themselves with a ball bearing that could be considered a musket ball. And things break, so you've got to be on top. We right now have a couple of games that are down because I haven't been able to get the parts I need to fix them. I will. I know where to get them. I just got to get the time, and that's always a joy.
But I mean, in general, the games are in really nice shape, and also visually, they're quite. They don't just work, but like the side art and everything looks really nice.
I've got to. If there's no marquee, it's going to be lit. If there's a coin slot, it should be lit. That's a big part of the aesthetic, the feel of what it is to go to an arcade. It always has been for me. From when I was a kid, finding a Gorogar pinball machine in a roller skating rink. That was my first game that I can remember ever seeing. And wow, this is really kind of interesting. And when I got older and I was able to start buying some of my own machines, I'm like, wow, there's a lot to this. I learned to repair the games because I needed to be able to keep them up. I don't fix my own car though. But it's not an Italian car, still.
So I'm curious, what's of all these games that you have there, any favorites, any personal?
Twilight Zone's always been my favorite. The Twilight Zone pinball machine is my favorite pinball. Deadpool is a newer machine.
It's gorgeous.
I really like the Deadpool. It's a lot of fun. It's a bit irreverent, which is nice. It pulls you in with the callbacks. The arcade machines, Dragon's Lair was one of my favorites, and I have one. I just have to finish restoring it to be able to put it on the floor. Laserdisc players are not things that will actually like arcades.
Yeah.
But I suck at almost every game. I'm really bad in the arcade. But I don't do it because I'm good at them. You almost anybody can beat me at pinball. There's only been a couple of games I've ever been good at, and I actually don't have any of them on the floor. But it's things that are different, things that are interesting. I just bought an Afterburner Deluxe, which is it's a cockpit game you get in, and as you play, it rocks and simulates. Not because I think it's a really great game, but it's different. It's going to be an experience for people to try this machine, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to get that.
Very interactive, yeah.
found a few oddballs along the way. I've got one that's, well, I have it. It's the wife's machine. It's called Meltdown U235. It's not an arcade. It's a electromechanical game. You control a lever, and there's a ping pong ball that goes up and down. And the computer controls the ball, and you've got a heat shield that you're trying to keep up and keep it from melting down. I went to try to find the manual for it, and the company that makes it disavows it. Just as they were putting them out into production, Chernobyl melted down. And they're like, nope, and they pulled all the machines and destroyed them. There's only like 2 machines known to exist. We have one of them. But it's fun, it's different, but it's funny that the company that made it just got their logo on it, and they disavow it.
So how many games do you have now on the floor out there?
On the floor, we've got between 50 and 60 games, depending on how we configure it. We can get more if we have smaller games, but right now we've got a Time Crisis 3, which is 2 50-inch screens.
Yeah.
It's massive, but it takes up the space that 4 or 5 other games could. So it's kind of float.
It's a fun one to play with the foot pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in my collection, I've got another 200 machines.
So you rotate those in and out, or
somewhat.
Yeah.
As I get things, get them repaired, put them out, swap things around, and then I look. Occasionally I'll bump into a new machine, like the Afterburner. I wasn't looking for it; it just came up on a Facebook post. I'm like, I have to get that. So now I'll figure out what to swap. I'll probably pull the Star Wars trilogy out because its monitor needs to be rebuilt anyhow, and so we'll put the Afterburner in for a while. And cycle things around. And then we've also got another location that we work with called the Machine Shop in Langley up on Whidbey Island. We've got a bunch of games out there, so we cycle stuff between here and there. And
any future plans?
Get a kitchen open. Get the kitchen open. Let's Play Cafe should be a cafe. Turns out that kitchens are very difficult. And this county isn't the most cooperative on the process for actually getting the kitchen process. I know what to do. COVID got kind of in our way, so I've got a plan. That's the next step. Get the kitchen open and just keep going. Eventually, I want to retire to just doing this.
Nice.
Right now, I work at Microsoft. That's my day job. It kept us through COVID, which is nice. If I'd had to survive on this place, we wouldn't have made it. The reality, we were closed for a number of months, completely shuttered. And it was the right thing to do for people, but it would have been disastrous for us if I hadn't had, thanks, Bill.
So right now your kitchen is your repair shop.
Kitchen's my repair shop, which lets me keep an eye on the counter, and I'm doing a lot of repairs. For people. I get stuff mailed to me. I get stuff brought in. I'll go through half a dozen or more repairs in a week of fixing the boards. I'm one of the few people that goes all the way down to component level repairs. I'll find the bad chip and I'll replace it. Spend a lot of time acquiring the tools and the knowledge to do that. But that's also why I don't repair my car. I know that the tools and stuff are specialized, and I don't want to do that. Nice thing about repairing arcade games is that they were supposed to work. So I just got to figure out what broke.
And they're robust in general, kind of.
Oh no, they're horribly not robust.
No?
No. The games were designed to last 90 days to 6 months.
Oh.
And then they get churned out and replaced. That's what they expect. In the 80s, that was the expected lifespan. So they're not very robust.
Wow. David, any final words?
Come see us.
Yeah, people can find you on Facebook as well.
Find us on Facebook. Let's Play Cafe Monroe on Facebook. You can send us email if you need directions. Let's Play Cafe at outlook.com, and we'd love to see you.
Yeah, and you're on Yelp as well. I saw it. And
got a Yelp. I never actually watched the thing.
Okay.
I'm not good at social media.
Okay. Well, we'll post something there. Awesome. Thank you.